Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now on episode 213. So 213 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. We're into the second round of the NBA playoffs. We're a month through the MLB season. We got stuff going on in the NHL, Champions League, so much more. Stay tuned for an action-packed episode 213. Let's hop into it. Let's start out episode 213, how we always do with our headlines in the NBA. First thing in the NBA I want to talk about is the Indiana Pacers. They're up 2-0 on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and both games Tyrese Halliburton has been on fire. This guy hears the hate. He hears how overrated he is. But he's a prime example of a guy in today's NBA that isn't necessarily some insane superstar, but he's a really good basketball player, and he has his own team. It's his own team. He can do what he wants in this team. He can win a championship for his own team. And that's exactly what he's trying to do right now with the Indiana Pacers. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton is not as skilled as someone like a Jason Tatum and Anthony Edwards, a Devin Booker, and those guys started over him on that Team USA team. But at the end of the day, Devin Booker doesn't have a championship. Anthony Edwards doesn't have a championship. As far as I'm concerned, Tyrese Halliburton's accomplished just as much of those guys. So for Tyrese Halliburton to do this, to go up 2-0, I don't want to jinx him yet, but he's done a great job, and they're up 2-0, heading back to Indiana. They want their revenge from that 2018 playoffs when they went up 2-0 in Indiana, and the LeBron's Cavs came back and won that series 4-3, a legendary series, including that LeBron James buzzer beater that happened in the same spot Tyrese Halliburton hit his. What a great game that was. Pacers up 2-0 on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Denver Nuggets, everybody, they're rolling right now. Win that first game against the Oklahoma City Thunder after a tough series against the Clippers. I said it last week. I said the winner of that Clippers-Nuggets series was going to win the Western Conference. I'm going to have to stick with that pick, everybody. I'm loving the way the Nuggets are playing. You get that foul three-up strategy by the Oklahoma City Thunder, which I think is a good strategy if you're going to foul up three. You got good free throw shooters. You know what you're doing out there. I wouldn't exactly bank on Nikola Jokic or Aaron Gordon making every free throw, yet they did, and Chet Holmgren missed two of his, leading to that buzzer-beating three by Aaron Gordon. Great shot right there. Not buzzer-beating, but with about 1 second left, Aaron Gordon walks it off for Denver. Great shot that was. And, I mean, going up 1-0 in Oklahoma City, they get games in Denver. David Adelman has done a great job with this team. I mean, he's a young head coach, interim head coach. But I think, that shot, that game, this series, the last series, should cement him as the future head coach of this team. Grizzlies hired their interim. Denver should do the exact same. Nuggets up 1-0 in Oklahoma City. My New York Knicks, everybody, up 1-0 on the Boston Celtics. Time of this recording, we're in Game 2 at the time of this recording, so Game 2 will be done by the time this episode's out. But I like the way the Knicks played in Game 1. What I didn't like was, I'm not always a big fan of comebacks, in my opinion. And if you're going to have a comeback, I think you should finish it with you winning handedly. And the Knicks definitely didn't do that in Game 1. They came back and they won. All you can ask for. But it's not a sign that's going to say the Knicks are going to win the rest of these games very easily. No, because they got blown out in Game 1, and then they got lucky and came back, and they almost lost it again when Jalen Brunson had to bring it to overtime, and then Knicks won it in overtime, which is a great sign. But what I'm saying is, if you're going to make a comeback and you're going to come back 20, win by 10, win by 15, then I'm convinced that you can win the rest of these games. I'm not so convinced of that yet with the New York Knicks. Lottery, 1 week away. Could the Philadelphia 76ers get Cooper Flagg with number 1 overall pick? Could it be Portland? Could it be a team like Brooklyn? Could it be Charlotte? Who will get that number 1 overall pick next week in the NBA Draft Lottery next Monday? Can't wait for it. Who wins the sweepstakes of the number 1 pick or number 2 pick, 3 pick in this star-studded draft class? Switch things over to the NFL, where George Pickens has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys. Yes, everybody's favorite menace on the NFL field will not be pairing up with another menace in DK Metcalf. That duo was short-lived. Steelers trying to tank, in my opinion. They trade George Pickens. They don't deal with that mess anymore. Cowboys, this is them saying, hey, we're going to get Dak weapons, as many weapons as he wants. Because I don't think Dak Prescott can win, even if he has the most weapons in the NFL. But you got to try. And if he doesn't win with this many weapons, Jake Ferguson, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, then it's time to cut him loose. And I think there's a reason to cut him loose. But you can't do it yet. You got to say you tried. And maybe it'll work out. Maybe not. George Pickens, the newest Dallas Cowboy. Justin Tucker, the NFL's most accurate special teams player and best special teams player of all time, has been released by the Baltimore Ravens. A little bit of a shocker there. Obviously, the off-the-field issues, which I'm not going to go into. But Justin Tucker, no longer on the Baltimore Ravens, should someone pick him up after his worst season in his NFL career that brought him down to 89% field goal percentage all time. Still the greatest ever, but still, only 89%. That's about for the headlines in the NFL this week. In the MLB, we're in full swing. We got things going on after a full month of the season. I got hot takes and around the bases coming up later on in this episode for the MLB. Champions League, Inter Milan is into the final against Paris Saint-Germain. It's going to be a great final. Can't wait for it. That's the Champions League final, everybody. And that's about it for the headlines this week. Take of the week. This week's take of the week is, let's talk a little about rebranding, because we've seen some pretty bad rebrands in the past few years. The Montreal Expos changing their name to the Washington Nationals and copying the Walgreens logo. The Washington football team going to the Washington Commanders. The Vancouver Grizzlies going to the Memphis Grizzlies, switching up their logos. New Jersey Nets to Brooklyn Nets. They didn't change their name, but it didn't work out great. The newest rebrand in sports is the Utah Mammoths. And if you follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram, you'd know how enthusiastic I'm about this. I love this rebrand. I think it's great. The Utah Yeti's name is what they tried for, but Yeti, the cooler brand, didn't allow it. That would have been a cool name. But I think Utah Mammoths, that's a great name. And they handled it perfectly. They let fans vote. There were 850,000 ballots of names. I mean, funny names, inappropriate names, mature names, real candidates for this. And they got down to Utah Mammoths, which I love. And I love the logo. I love the jerseys. It's a great rebrand. You have some other interesting NHL names in there, and this fits perfectly in there, in my opinion. You got the San Jose Sharks. You maybe got the Minnesota Wild, the Edmonton Oilers, some of the fun names in there. And then you switch in the Utah Mammoths, a team that was called the Utah Hockey Club the past few seasons after being the Arizona Coyotes for so long, now being called the Utah Mammoths. I love it right there. That's my take of the week. Utah, what a great job on this rebuild, being called the Utah Mammoths. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 playoff upsets of all time. I'm not talking about college. I'm not talking about your Florida Gulf Coast over your Georgetown or your college football. We've got some crazy upsets in the playoffs. I'm talking about the top playoff upsets in sports. Pro sports here, the big boy leagues. Let's hop into it. Number 5, the Beastquake game when the 7-9 Seattle Seahawks took down the reigning Super Bowl champions, New Orleans Saints, in the 2010 Super Bowl. It's called the Beastquake game because Marshawn Lynch was a beast in that game where the 7-9 Seahawks, the last team to sneak into the playoff, the worst record ever in the playoff outside of the Washington football team in 2020, got into the playoff, and they won this game over the 2010 New Orleans Saints, the 2009 Super Bowl champions. That's number 5. Number 4, and one I remember very vividly, the Titans beating the Ravens in the 2019 playoffs. It was a shock that the Titans made the playoffs that year. They had to beat the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday Night Football to even get into the playoffs. Then they had to go down to, or up to Foxborough, play Tom Brady, beat Tom Brady in his last game as a New England Patriot, then go down to Baltimore, play Lamar Jackson, the 14-2 Baltimore Ravens, where everybody thought they were invincible and that we were destined for Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes conference championship. But the Titans had other plans, wiping them out of the water right away. 4, Titans going up to Baltimore and wiping the Ravens out of the water in the 2019 playoffs. 3, one I love, the 1931 Nationals at one point in May snuck into the playoffs as the last team, barely won their wild card game, and then beat the number 1 seed, Los Angeles Dodgers, in 5 games. They were down that game 5. Howie Kendrick, former Dodger, killed the Dodgers in that game. Also went on to kill the Astros in that World Series. But that Dodgers series comes to mind where they were up 2-1 in that series and ended up losing 3-2. So number 3, Nationals over the Dodgers in 2019 MLB playoffs. Number 2, the Florida Panthers in the 2023 playoffs, squeaking in on the last day of the regular season into the playoffs, beating the greatest regular season team of all time, the Boston Bruins, to make the second round and then eventually go on to the Stanley Cup Finals. What a great season that was for the Florida Panthers, where they had to sneak in on the last day to make the playoffs and then beat the greatest regular season team of all time in 7 games. What a series that was. Florida Panthers over the Bruins at number 2 in 2023 playoffs. Number 1, the best one I've ever seen, the Patriots in Tom Brady's rookie season taking down the greatest show on turf, the Los Angeles Rams, or St. Louis Rams at the time in 2002, taking down Kurt Warner and everybody on that incredible Los Angeles Rams team. Tom Brady is one of his first starts ever, really, maybe under 10 starts after not playing the conference championship game because he got dinged up the first quarter of that game. Went on to start that Super Bowl and win that Super Bowl to bring home a championship in his second NFL season. That's about it for my top 5 this week. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, did you know, this week's Did You Know, it's a great one. Did you know, in the wacky 2007 college football season, the number 2 ranked team in the country lost every time for the last 9 weeks of the season. So for the last 9 weeks of the 2007 college football season, whoever was ranked number 2 in the country lost every single time. Did you know that? Leave that in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. So we like to create a lot of narratives in sports, in the media, including myself. Whether you're watching ESPN, whether you're watching Fox, whether you're watching CBS, or if you're watching Schoolyard Sports, you're going to hear narratives about guys in the NBA. And I like to throw on the term star a lot because we have a lot of stars in the NBA. Star, they can make the All-Star game. They can make the playoffs. They can maybe win a playoff series. They can drop 30 a night. They can do 25 points per game. But to make you a superstar, to make you that next level player, you gotta make a championship. You gotta do it by yourself, and you gotta win important and key stuff on your own. So my thinking is here, who's gonna be the next face of the NBA league? Because we think about it always. It was LeBron forever. It was Curry forever. It was Kobe. It was Michael Jordan. Who's next up? Giannis, I think, failed as face of the league. But Giannis has his championship. He's taken that leap. He's won a championship. Jason Tatum, he took that leap. He won a championship. He doesn't need to be the face of the league. So let's talk about who can be the next guys to take that leap, win that championship, and potentially be the face of the league. The one name I'm going to throw out there, the first name I'm going to throw out there, who hasn't done it yet, but could do it, is Luka Doncic. Now, that's controversial for me not to call Luka Doncic an NBA superstar face of the league candidate, because he isn't yet. Luka hasn't had his own team to win a championship yet. He brought Dallas to the finals. That's awesome. He didn't win it. Now this would be a completely different conversation. If Luka won that finals, Tatum would take his spot, and Luka wouldn't be on this list. But Luka still hasn't won a championship on his own and needs to take that next leap. He has no MVPs, no real first-team accolades, hasn't won that championship. Luka, I need to see a championship to name you the NBA face of the league next leap superstar. What about Anthony Edwards? Because I've been waiting for Anthony Edwards for a while now. After his third season in the NBA, when Joel Embiid won MVP, he said, "Great, Joel Embiid won MVP. Just know, I'm coming." And that was 3 years ago. You still haven't been an MVP candidate. You've been an awesome player, and you've improved so much. I'm waiting to see that MVP candidate in Anthony Edwards. He did a great leap last year, being the Denver Nuggets, the reigning champions in the second round. He couldn't beat Luka Doncic. You want to win those series? You got to win those series, in my opinion, if you want to be the face of the league. We're seeing it now with Anthony Edwards. Time to take that next leap. It was a great series against the Lakers. You're eviscerating LeBron James like you eviscerated Kevin Durant last year, and you beat Nikola Jokic last year. But now it's time to really buckle down and try to win this series against the Warriors. Because Curry's not going to be there until Game 5. So you got to win the next 3 games, in my opinion, if you want to be the face of the league and win this series. What about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? A guy who's going to win MVP, a guy who's awesome, but to be that next superstar, take that next leap, it's about the championships. Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson can do it. He has his own team, New York Knicks. He's playing great in the playoffs. They're up 1-0. If they win this series, they're going to win the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. So Jalen Brunson, he's the star. He can make that next leap. All these guys can. But I think Brunson does a great job to do it too. What about Donovan Mitchell? A name we could throw out there. A guy who kind of has his own team. I know he plays along Darius Garland, but this has been a real step for Donovan Mitchell because his stats haven't been the best of his career this season. They've been great. He's still a superstar, or still a star, but he hasn't won that championship yet. But he's the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they've had a great season, which nobody expected, including myself. So for Donovan Mitchell, is that leap this season where you make that championship run, you win that championship, and you become the next superstar face of the league? Because right now, Donovan Mitchell's in the Hall of Very Good in our league. Is he going to be ready to take that next step, be considered in that Giannis, Tatum type of range, LeBron type of range, where he has that status? I don't know yet, but a playoff run like this would certainly help. You can throw a name like Tyrese Halliburton out there, a guy I've talked a lot about in this episode, who has his team, has his playoff runs, made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, could have won that series, in my opinion, could have won Game 1, that whole series would have been different. They choked away that Game 1. Won a gold medal already, and a lot of these guys on this list already did, but he didn't play much. This is his time to be that champion, which really would be a real light to the NBA, would say, maybe Tyrese Halliburton, not the best guy on the court, but he can win a championship. He could be that next star of the league. Victor Wembanyama is the last name I'm going to throw out here right now. And I know we can't call Wemby the face of the league yet because we haven't seen much. Wemby was going to be Defensive Player of the Year, but he wasn't going to make the playoffs. LeBron didn't have a good Cavs team. He made the playoffs in year 2. Even if Wemby was healthy the whole season, the Spurs weren't sniffing the playoffs. And that's not his fault. The NBA is much better and much more physical than it was in 2004, LeBron's rookie season. Now it is in 2024, 2025 NBA season. But for Victor Wembanyama, is the time now, next season, for him to take that leap and be that next NBA superstar, face of the league. That's my segment right here. The Schoolyard NBA Stars, face of the league. Who's ready to take that next step? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, around the bases. Let's shift our focus to the MLB and around the bases with some MLB hot takes after 1 month of the MLB season. We're into May. Let's hop into it. First one. The Orioles have ruined their window to win a championship ever, in my opinion. Now, how can you say that, Lane? Because they're such a young squad. They're such a great team. I talked about this on my ESPN 600 radio show last week, my weekly segment. Go tune in every week. I said that the Baltimore Orioles are really just no different than the Phoenix Suns. They're the Phoenix Suns of the MLB. You get your superstars. You have your Devin Bookers that are homegrown. Jackson Holiday, Gardner Henderson. You have some good superstars you pick up along the way. Chris Paul, Corbin Burns. But at the end of the day, you went too big. You couldn't piece it together. Now, I'm not saying the Orioles have gone too big yet. What I'm saying is it's time for these prospects to really put it together because most of them have, but the winning isn't there. Maybe they went for too much at once. Maybe they should have traded more guys. Maybe they shouldn't have. But what I'm seeing right now, the Orioles, is something terrible. A horrible season so far that I don't think is salvageable. You've seen it before, where maybe a season like this can be salvageable. 1931, Washington Nationals went on to make the World Series, win the World Series in 2019. Mets last season, they were terrible, went on to make the NLCS. But for the Baltimore Orioles, I don't see that fire. I don't see that desire in this team. I really don't. So for the Baltimore Orioles, I compare them to the Phoenix Suns in the way that I thought the Suns were going to be ruling the NBA for the next 15 years. And they didn't. And they won't. Because of what they did, what Matt Ishbia did. New owner for the Suns came in during their rebuild process when they were about to get out of it. New owner came in for the Baltimore Orioles right when they were about to get out of the rebuild process. So in my opinion, the Orioles ruined their window. I don't know if the answer is firing Brandon Hyde, because for the Phoenix Suns, they fired about 5 different head coaches and it still hasn't worked out for them. So Orioles, in my opinion, have ruined their championship window. Next one. Starting pitching matters less than bullpen pitching in current day MLB. It's a hot take, but in my opinion, a good starting pitcher or an average starting pitcher can give up max 5 runs in the game before you have to go to your bullpen. It's true. You're going to go to your bullpen after 5 runs. In an MLB game today, teams can very easily score 5 runs. Offense is a huge commodity that every team has now. Offense is a big thing in MLB. We're no longer in the dead ball era, as I used to call it. We're out of that. Offense is a commodity. Starting pitching used to be a necessity. Now it's more of just a type of idle area where you're going into your relief pitching, you just need them to hold it down, give up only 4 or 5 runs, then you go into relief pitching and hope they don't blow it. But it's most games, and I watch a lot of Mets games, every Mets game, I see where the Mets go 4-2 in these games. Starting pitching does pretty well and gives up 2 runs, maybe it's 7-5 after the time the starting pitcher leaves if it's a really bad game, but then the bullpen can ruin it for you. So that's why I think bullpen matters so much in MLB. There's more at stake later in the game. These guys are going to hit for more power, they're going to hit for more contact, they're going to hit with more will. And that's why bullpen pitching, in my opinion, in today's MLB is more important than starting pitching. And it's a hot take, but it's right. Next one. Pete Alonso is a top 5 hitter in baseball. Not just this season, but in general. You can't tell me 5 better hitters than Pete Alonso. I think Pete Alonso has been that kind of guy this year. And I heard someone say it, an MLB player tell me a few years ago. They said, well, Pete Alonso is just so good because he's so disciplined. But then you look at his batting average, it's like 247, only a few home runs, maybe like 10 home runs. But it's like, Pete Alonso's good. He's not great. Maybe he really is great because now he's batting 340. He is disciplined. He has great OPS, great on-base percentage, great slugging, great RBIs, some of the most hits in the NL, most home runs in the NL. He's on fire, Pete Alonso. Top 5 hitter in baseball in general, not just this season. Second to last one right here. The Tigers have the best future of anybody in MLB. They're on fire. They're first in their division. They're 22-13. They have guys like Tarek Skubal, who might just be the ace of the MLB. Javier Baez piecing it together this year, and they've got him for about another 4 more years. Max Clark, former top 5 pick last season. He's going to be coming up to the majors soon. You got Casey Mize, who's the former number 1 overall pick in 2018. He's the most wins in the American League right now. Jackson Jobe, he might be better than Paul Skeens when he gets called up. Spencer Torkelson, former number 1 overall pick. He's piecing it together right now. I'm going fast here because I love this Tigers team. I think they're playing great. Kerry Carpenter, he's a superstar in the making. Riley Green, he's an all-star. Tigers have some of the best, if not the best, and they actually do have the best future in the MLB. That's my hot take. The Tigers have the best future in the MLB. Last one right here. And I've said it before, and it's kind of obvious, but the Rockies are the most embarrassing franchise in sports. The reason is because they just sit back and they say, what can we do? We're in Colorado. Nobody's ever going to want to come to us. That's it. We're done. We give up. They have 6 wins this season. That's losing attitude. I don't know who their owner is. I'd love to call them out for it. But they just sit down there and they say, hey, we suck. We lose because we're in Colorado. Then fix it. Fix something. Move. Why not? Freeze the baseballs a little bit more to where they don't fly out of the park every game. Maybe just invest a little bit more, tad bit more, into your scouting on pitching to where you draft these awesome pitchers to where they don't have the option to leave you or not go to you in free agency. The Rockies are a pathetic franchise, and that's why they only have 6 wins this season. They went big for guys like Chris Bryant, and it didn't work out. Well, they got rid of guys like Nolan Arenado, who could have stayed there their whole entire careers. That's about it for my Around the Bases hot takes this week. I like to call out laziness when I see it in sports media, and I see that right now with what ESPN just did with their most recent power rankings in the NFL. After the draft and after most of the bulk of the offseason, they ranked the New York Giants 32 out of 32. Now you're saying, Lane, you're a Giants fan, this is biased. You're just mad about it because they rank your team the worst in the NFL. You should be happy about it. They'll be the worst team and they'll get Arch Manning. Slow it down a little bit. Giants are not the worst team in the NFL. Giants were the worst team in the NFL. They're not anymore. Let's think about it. 2 years ago, the Giants made the divisional round. They won a playoff game because they had the same quarterback for every game. Now, I'm not saying the Giants are going to have the same quarterback for every game this season, but they're going to have some continuity because you're going to have a Pro Bowler in Russell Wilson. You're going to have a Pro Bowler in Jameis Winston as his backup, and you're going to have a first-round pick in Jackson Dart as his third stringer. Last season, the Giants quarterbacks at the end of the season were Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, and Tim Boyle. Now, this season, you'll have Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Jackson Dart. Sure sounds a lot better. With Russell Wilson at the helm, the Steelers went 10-7. They made the playoffs. Russell Wilson, Tyrone Tracy, Darius Slayton, Malik Neighbors, a few other guys on that offense. Evan Neal at offensive guard. Maybe that'll work out well. Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Bobby Okereke. This is a well-rounded team, in my opinion. Not saying they're going to be a playoff team and they're going to win every game this season, but I'm saying 32 out of 32 is lazy. You give Brian Dable a quarterback to where he can play with that guy for every game of the season, it's going to work great. Because 2 years ago, it worked great. And then Daniel Jones tore his ACL the next season after being out for most of that season. Then last season, Daniel Jones was just terrible, and there was no continuity. But now this season, Giants have continuity in that quarterback room with Pro Bowl talent. That's why I think it's ridiculous to call the Giants the worst team in the NFL. That's about for my At the Buzz this week, calling out the laziness over at ESPN. I don't know who wrote that article. I'll put them on blast later on that Schoolyard Sports Twitter. Go follow at Schoolyard Sports. That's about for the Buzz this week. Now, question today. This week's question is, who is the most overrated player in the NBA? And you can't say Tyrese Halliburton anymore. Sorry, Tim Hardaway. Not happening. Tyrese Halliburton, actually, I thought was always an underrated guy. I'd watch him at Iowa State. He was the best passing guard in the country. I'd watch him in the Kings. He was a great passer. Didn't play much. And then he goes to the Pacers, has his own team, and makes the playoffs every single year. Something guys, superstars, can't even do. Maybe a guy like James Harden's overrated. Maybe someone like Kawhi Leonard is overrated. Maybe someone like PG is actually underrated to where PG brought the Clippers to the Western Conference Finals. While Norman Powell, Kawhi, and James Harden couldn't do it. Couldn't even win a playoff series. So Tyrese Halliburton is underrated, in my opinion, not overrated. Who's the most overrated player in the NBA, though? Leave your answer on that in the comments. That's about for question day this week. That's about for Schoolyard Sports and Lane Frank, episode 213. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the best sports content in the world. Be back here next week, episode 214. Stay tuned.